Hey, what's up guys, Riff here. So recently there's been a lot of talk about the censorship of Stellar Blade, and one ongoing debate involving that has been who is at fault for this censorship. Is it all the fault of Shift Up? Is it all the fault of Sony applying pressure to them? Or is it both? Well, at the end of the day, we will never know 100% what the answer is, but we all know that Sony has a history of censoring some games but not others, and they're very hypocritical when it comes to how they apply their censorship. And this is happening once again with another upcoming release that is being censored by Sony, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Now, before we get into that, we are reaching the very end of the Rev Bunny FUMO campaign. Only 1 day left to get your hands on this little gremlin here. You can see the campaign is fully funded, and there is about 1 day left, and this is it. No more extensions, and this will not return once that clock hits 0, so make sure to get this before it's gone, and I will put a link to this in the pinned comment. Now, the game that is being censored by Sony is Tsukihime. Now, this is a M for mature rated game that is being censored, which should very much confuse you. And here is the official announcement from their Twitter account. It says this: notice regarding the English release of Tsukihime, a piece of Blue Glass Moon. Due to differing platform publishing policies, the art book included in the physical limited edition for PlayStation 4 will be printed with graphic modifications to 2 pages, while the art book included for the physical limited edition for the Nintendo Switch will be printed without the modification. Despite these adjustments to the PlayStation 4 art book, the game will remain unaltered for both PlayStation 4 and Nintendo Switch. We apologize for the inconvenience. So yeah, there's a lot to unpack here, and immediately people are asking what's being censored. Well, here's an example of the artwork from that book that is being censored. Of course, this character is not wearing any pants, but that's not too surprising given the fact that this is an M for mature rated game. And you see comments like this: full frontal nudity in The Last of Us 2 is okay. Art book with anime girl is not. Sony is run by clowns. That is the very confusing part. What is the difference here? Why is one thing acceptable and the other not in this situation? We see games like The Last of Us 2 having full-on sex scenes like this, but games like Tsukihime and Stellar Blade are being censored when they don't even have anything comparable to that, or at least with Tsukihime, something that is far less, am I right? And a lot of people have been also making the comparison to Baldur's Gate 3. If we're talking about this shot of Ciel being, without having pants on, how does that get censored, but Baldur's Gate 3 not get censored when they have full frontal nudity and customizable genitalia? How is that okay for English releases from Sony, but Tsukihime's not? It makes no sense. And here's some more comments saying, bad news guys, if you want to see Ciel with her pussy out, you gotta use the children's console instead of the one with the adult rated games. That is the very confusing part. Right now, we're seeing Sony being the one censoring this game. You would have thought, if you read the bare bones of this situation, you would have thought, oh, it's the Nintendo Switch release that's being censored. No, it's actually Sony that's doing it to their own game that they're publishing. It's very confusing, and we live in a time where it seems like of late, Nintendo Switch has actually had less censorship than Sony. Make it make sense. And people have been pointing this out as well. So, Tsukihime, published by Aniplex. Aniplex is part of Sony. Sony forces edits of their own game's art book in global release. Art book remains unedited on Switch. It makes absolutely no sense. It is self-inflicted. They are doing this with pressure from no one but themselves. That is the confusing part here. And again, it's super hypocritical when you look at other games that they publish that are not censored and have much more graphic things in them. But with Tsukihime, or also Stellar Blade, they're censoring these games on their own volition for far, far less than other things that they normally allow. And that's very confusing. And a lot of people are also comparing this to the Skullgirls situation. Of course, an art book being censored. The difference being with Skullgirls, that digital art book was already released and people had already purchased it when they took it away. But still, the art books are being censored. And we saw what happened with Skullgirls, okay? It became very clear that they have a disdain of their own fan base that enjoyed fan service and other things like that. And that went horribly for them. It completely tanked their reputation, and they lost a lot of customers as a result of that whole movement. And I see the same thing happening with Tsukihime. Like, who is happy to see these art books being censored? I mean, other than, you know, crazy people on Twitter who will celebrate censorship no matter what just because they want to own the gamer chuds out there. But most reasonable people who are interested in these games are not going to celebrate censorship. I mean, why is it necessary? It's an N for mature rated game. It's absolutely crazy. But now I want to return to some of the talks involving Stellar Blade and give you guys some updates on stuff we talked about over the past couple of days. So 2 days ago, I talked about this situation where a streamer by the name of Denims TV made a very concerning comment about Asmongold and Mark Kern, as Asmongold was reacting to my video where I shared a tweet where Mark Kern received a death threat because he was, of course, calling out censorship of Stellar Blade. And this is the clip if you want to see it.
Listen, I'll up the number, okay? 30K to anyone who'll make this dipshit disappear and make Eve's breasts bigger. Okay, you have to do both. All right? Because then it's a win-win for me. I get more breast, and I don't have to see that moron on my timeline anymore. So if you think about it.
Now, if you want the full details, you can check out my video from a few days ago. But basically, after that clip went viral, Denims TV would go private and go into hiding, and that's kind of where we left things off. Here's the update. So here's Mark Kern saying this. I will accept an apology from Denims TV since she deleted the VOD with the threat on Asmongold and myself. Least she could do. And yes, there was some confusion as to who she was talking about when she made that bounty. Was she talking simply about Mark Kern, but also Asmongold? It's confusing because she was reacting to Asmongold after all. But either way, a lot of people took that as a serious threat and something that could be considered an actual crime, a felony, a very serious deal. And I see the fact that she deleted the VOD, and I don't see any merit in that. I don't see any value in that. In fact, I think she's just protecting herself at this point. Why would she leave that VOD up? It makes her look really bad. And some people believe she recorded herself committing a literal crime. So of course she would delete the VOD, but do we think we're going to get an apology out of this situation? Do you think she's going to apologize to Mark Kern or Asmongold? I really don't think so. I think she's just going to lay low for a bit and try to let this pass over. But, you know, who knows with the situation? It doesn't seem that anything significant has happened. In fact, nothing's even happened to her Twitch account, which is shocking and also not shocking given how inconsistent Twitch is when applying its own rules, because what she did obviously violated TOS. I mean, that's not up for debate. A lot of people are debating about the severity in terms of the legal consequences that could happen out of this, but any halfway serious person cannot debate that that comment she made violates Twitch's TOS. I mean, come on at this point. But of course, we've seen other people add into the bounty. In this now deleted tweet, this individual said, I'll raise it to $50,000 only because the Ass Coalition is not being represented. Yes, this is Reddit incarnate right here. But of course you see Kotaku editor here, Alyssa, saying, oh my god, I DM'd you, gleefully responding to another comment, putting a bounty on someone's head over censorship of a video game being called out. But also, we would get into a conversation on Mark Kern's Twitter where we're starting to think, what is a death threat in the eyes of these people? Because a lot of people are defending what happened to Mark Kern and saying that the comments made to him were not threats, they were just jokes. When we all know if the roles were reversed, they would be claiming the exact opposite. But he says this. So when are online death threat jokes acceptable? Let's clear up the rules here. All you say, she was just joking. Let me know the guidelines, please. The test is if I can joke the same way about you. So then we would see the content creator Keith here once again responding to Mark Kern saying not a single person said death threat jokes were acceptable. They are just saying you are dragging the issue and making it seem like people are really out to get you, when beyond the first guy, everything was clearly jokes. Besides that first death threat you got, everything after that I deem as a joke. And of course, people were raising examples of people receiving online death threats that would eventually transition into real-life violence. That is the concern, of course, when someone is receiving, yes, they are receiving, Mark Kern is receiving online death threats. The concern is that it's going to transition into real life, and we have seen that happen in other cases. It's very valid to be concerned about threats like that being made to you. And we had another comment here saying, sorry, Keith, but you literally contradicted yourself. Nobody is saying that is not a joke, but you are accusing the one being threatened as him dragging the issue, which is making light of the situation, where Keith replies saying, since you and the rest of his fans know very little English, an example of contradicting would be me saying death threat jokes are not acceptable and then saying I approve of death threats. Since that was not said once, it is not a contradicting statement. I think the reason people are questioning your logic here is because it is very confusing to understand what you're saying. It does seem to contradict itself, and that's something that Mark Kern would point out, saying this: how do you square the first and last sentence? Not a single person said jokes were acceptable, followed by, they're just jokes, bro. Here's the issue. You're saying right here, death threat jokes are not acceptable. People are saying they're not acceptable. Well, why are they not acceptable? Well, probably because they're rooted in a threat on someone's life. I'm assuming that's why you think death threat jokes are not acceptable. But then down here, you're dismissing them as clearly just jokes. So that does contradict what you're saying up here. You are making light of it down here while trying to morally condemn it up here, right? That is the confusion here. But that's really all we have for this conversation involving Mark Kern here. But I want to return to another tweet that we covered in that recent video. So we have this user who made this tweet saying, you may as well say sign this if you've never had a woman, referring to the petition that Mark Kern set up for Stellar Blade in a hope to get the censorship reverted. And we made fun of this because a lot of women, including women who touch women, were responding to this saying, yes, I signed the petition. Now what? Well, we have an update from that situation. This user shared this screenshot of a previous tweet they made responding to an OnlyFans girl saying that OnlyFans video was hot. I'm subbing. Yes. Not only are they simping for these women, but they're also paying them in the process. But this is the person mocking you for calling out censorship of a video game and implying that you are some touch-starved virgin. But they would reply to people making fun of them saying this: notifications blew up with a bunch of sexually frustrated cucks crying about my post, using censorship as an excuse to be pervs. Not one single soul said a word about the gore being censored. You simps just want to see TNA. Meanwhile, this dumpster fire has gained more traction. Now, there's a lot to unpack here. I mean, beginning with the first part, this is all just projection. It makes more sense, too, knowing this guy has an interest in paying for OnlyFans. But on top of this, talking about nobody's saying a word about the gore being censored, when that's exactly what people are pointing out. Every single time you see someone making a serious post calling out the censorship of Stellar Blade, the gore being censored is mentioned alongside it, but you people are just ignoring that because it doesn't fit your agenda, where you're strawmanning these horny gamers complaining about not being able to see the vagina of Eve, when that's not what people are simply complaining about, and it's a crazy misrepresentation of what's going on. But also you have this comment about this dumpster fire gaining more traction. Well, thanks to you and people like you, you're complaining about it while sharing a screenshot of the petition, raising people's interest to go check this out, and also people dunking on you just to basically show a point. When you said that only, men were signing this petition who have never seen women, you literally provoked a bunch of people who might not have been interested in the first place to go and sign it out of spite to make fun of you. Don't you see what's happening? You're helping this petition get more signatures. And moving forward, there was another very funny your likes are public moment involving the situation. So this person who has been suspected of view-botting the likes on this tweet said, I hate porn addicts, bro. If I saw more of this instead of the gooner bait, I'd be all about this game, referring to Stellar Blade. And of course, someone's doing the work for me saying your likes are public. And yeah, I checked out their likes. It's nothing but porn. Okay, that's not surprising. People always project about this stuff. It's very strange. But that's going to do it for this video today. A couple of updates and some new censorship coming out. You hate to see it. But yeah, that is the current situation. As always, I appreciate you guys watching, and feel free to share all of your thoughts about today's topics in the comment section down below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.